I'm your host, Laria Speaks.
And I'm your host, Nay.
And welcome to
Thought
Topics
Topics
Podcast. And here it's a mood.
And here it's lit.
And here we chilling.
And here it's hot.
Join us on Fridays for
Girls Night as we explore stories of transformed hot girls.
All right, y'all. Welcome back. Y'all know how we do it. Y'all know what time it is. It is girl talk time. All right. So grab a chair, get your tacos ready, get your coffee, get your tea. Not really the messy tea, just something to drink to clear your throat, that type of thing. And we just ready to share this story this week with y'all. This probably gonna be one of my favorites. And I'm gonna let our guest this week kind of introduce herself, and then I'll tell y'all why this might be one of my favorites.
Hey y'all, hey, I'm Shana, aka ShanaSpeaksLife, and I am super geeked to be here, and the fact that you said get your tacos made me hungry. Like, ooh.
We love tacos, right?
Listen, everyday Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday, Taco Wednesday, Taco Thursday. It's Taco Day. Okay, so the reason I said it's probably one of my favorites, because y'all know, like, I've had a lot of people pour into me, a lot of people that I look up to or that has taken time to shepherd me or mentor me. But this is my first mentor, okay? Like, my first. I don't know. I think I was in middle school, had to be 7th or 8th grade when I first met her through a relative of mine. And since then, we've been locked in. Ain't no slipping up. And when I say, like, even before we knew the Lord, it was some things she taught me. It was some things she taught me that were valuable even to my ratchet years. You know what I'm saying?
I'm dead.
But I'm going to focus on the positive. Like, I just remember one of my most memorable moments was Shauna getting me ready for prom. And that was like, all my big moments she's been there for. And I'm just excited for that, y'all. So y'all know I had to bring her in.
Listen, much appreciated, for real. Always honored, always.
Yes. So we'll hop right into it. We got Nay on here too. She just chilling right now. but Nay is in the room too.
Yes, I'm in the building. If you don't got your pen and paper, please take notes, ladies and gents.
Hey, take notes. Listen. But I'm gonna go into our question. Y'all know how we get down. So the $1 million question of this podcast is: describe your relationship story in a movie title.
Girl, bye.
What we watching? What we
Listen,
watching?
I can only pick one.
Yes.
Listen, okay. Listen, girl. Waiting to exhale. I'm sorry. And I was every single character at some point in my dating life. Okay. Everyone. Even Angela. Well, especially Angela. I was Angela a couple times, but yeah.
Listen.
Them BC days, honey. Yes.
Okay. Y'all all seen the movie, right? Y'all seen Waiting to Exhale.
I know. Okay, when she threw that cigarette in that car, I felt every emotion because we all wanted.
It's so many times I should have went to jail for the things I have done to exes. I'm just gonna be honest.
But God.
But God.
But God spared you. Listen, we are not incriminating ourselves on this podcast.
Listen, 7 years have passed, honey. Okay.
I'm so done. Not you know the legality.
Me knowing facts. Okay.
Okay, for my youngins that may not have seen the movie, Nay, you want to throw us a recap?
Okay, so basically she was this amazing wife, committed to her husband, helped him build his business, and then one day basically he come home and their marriage is over because he decided to get married to a white woman and to leave them. And so now she's trying to pick up all these pieces and rebuild herself. And one of the first steps of doing that is she cuts her hair and she becomes new. But throughout this journey, throughout this process, she has all these different she goes on basically like this emotional roller coaster. And throughout this process, she has her girls to support her who each have their own story because they're all going through their love journey as well.
Listen, I felt a Shondo in my spirit.
Happy Black History Month. I'm gonna throw that.
Yes.
Happy Black History Month. Okay. But child, what Kanye
Listen,
say? And when he get on, he leave.
for a white girl.
Now we ain't gonna dwell on the
listen.
fact that she white. You know we love all our audience, all of our
Right.
listeners, but there is stigmas to that. When it comes to
The come up.
yes, the come up, the culture, and all of that. But child, and I'm gonna say like a little bit of her other friends' stories. Like one of them was struggling with she was a single mom and was struggling with her baby daddy and wait,
Teenage and
yeah,
her teenage
wait,
son.
was it the son's sexuality or the dad's sexuality they were struggling
It
with?
was the dad's
The dad's.
sexuality.
Okay, I'm like whatever. Yeah, like it was some struggles with that. Her, whatever. Whitney Houston. I don't know why I can't
AKA
remember.
Savannah. Her name was Savannah.
I
I
cannot remember
that
her
name.
story. What was
Her
Savannah's
story
story?
was she was the high class side chick.
Oh.
She was, she was in love with a married man, and her mother was condoning her being with him. That's the sad part. Like, he's a good man.
He's a good man, Savannah.
You were supposed to be with him. Girl, he don't love his wife. Girl, this her mama. Because her mama was on her about being old and alone. Like, she wasn't even old. Whitney was still fly. Like, I was
And
confused.
beautiful. And she wanted her to put up with the nonsense and basically tell him like,
and she did.
He gonna end up divorcing her. Just wait it out. And it was just like, as a mother, that's what you feel about you offered your daughter.
You want your daughter to settle for leftovers?
Wow.
Sad.
That's sad.
Mamas are like that though. Real talk. There's mamas like that.
Good child. Okay, and the last one, from what I remember, what's her name? Shauna said she
Robin.
Robin.
Robin. Listen, she was in love with the crackhead. But he was a functioning crackhead who would like take her to parties and do drugs and then like kind of like be leaving her where she at. She be stuck and then she gotta get a ride home, and she threw oranges at him off her patio one day.
And he had on that leather vest and it was hot
in 90-degree California weather. Oh my gosh.
Ooh,
that was the other dude.
Okay.
Both her dudes had issues. One dude was the one she was in love with, which is Cynthia Bailey's baby daddy in real life. That's who the character was that she was in love with.
Trauma bonding.
Yes, but she struggled with being with a good man. Then when she found somebody she thought was a good man, he was low-key her supervisor. So after they had their intercourse, he started treating her funny. Because that's all he wanted. He really wasn't a good man. And we got to be careful with that. Because men be acting like they the good man until they get the cookies. And when they get the cookies,
it's a different
they just
story.
like everybody else.
Whole different story. Now he smashed and passed. So let's
smashed and passed.
Let's dive into it. What we talking about first?
I'm like, how do you want to start?
Let's come out strong. I'm with it if you with it.
I'm with it. Let's go. Transparency is my middle name. All the tea. Sip.
Okay, so I don't know which one you feel like it's on the tip of your tongue. Go ahead, tell us. Let's dive into this. Let's navigate these study topics.
Let's start off with Whitney Houston's character, Savannah, the one who was like in love with this married man. So, full disclaimer, I did not know that the guy that I was falling in love with was married. Okay.
Tag me
Let's
in.
start there.
Pass me the ball.
Okay. I did not know. But once I found out, I did struggle with letting go. Because by that point, I was like, what I thought was love, which later on I look back like, oh, this was just pure lust. That's just all it was. But at the time, I was like head over heels in love with him. My son at the time was like maybe 1 year old. So in my mind, I was feeling insecure. I still had that baby weight on me, and he was whining and dining me and making me feel so special and like I was everything to him. And then when I found out that he was married, I was mad and I didn't talk to him for like 2 weeks. And then the insecurity kicked in, like this as good as it get. You know, I had a friend, well, she ain't my friend no more, but
Mm.
I had a friend even like confirm, like, girl, you a single mom and you picked up a little weight. This is my friend. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sitting there listening to her tap into my insecurities. And, he was even telling me like, I love you and, I'm gonna leave her. I'm leaving her. Da, 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 da. So I stayed for a while. I did. I stayed for a while, and then that one day, I was like, man, girl, if you don't get your butt in this gym, eat a couple carrots, and get your life together, like, love you. You know what I'm saying? But that struggle was real to let him go, especially during my insecurity stage.
Right. Okay. In the era of city girls and, side chick and probably side chick, we do not talk about the girl that did not know, but by the time you find out, like you have this attachment and you're literally like emotionally, mentally, physically stuck and you've been
Yes.
sold a dream. And I feel like we focus so much on, oh, this person a homewrecker and she was a side chick, like we don't know that it's people out here that be living double lives and be having a whole different personality.
Yep.
Like, bruh, like you was playing a role like you was single, and this is how deep niggas will have you at their house, or
Listen, you
or
think I
be
wasn't in the
listen,
house?
and will make it seem like how did I not see that? How did you hide the evidence of a woman? And ladies, pay attention if your stuff is moved around and you come home. I was the one on the other side of that. One time I came home, whoa, I should have just lit that nigga up. No, but one time I come
Listen,
home, I ain't lived with a man since, baby. No plan on it. I come home and my stuff, like my loofah, my toothbrush, my little woman bag and stuff is like under the bathroom sink. And I'm like, why is my stuff under here? And it was like, oh, I was
hmm
straightening up. I was straightening up. And I put up a fight originally, but then I just let it go. Like, no, this nigga ain't that stupid. Yes, he was that stupid. Yes, in fact, he was that stupid to have somebody in my freaking house and hid that. And I think like we should definitely like let up on the women because, well, I would not even put it on women, like put it on men that cheat because it's women that cheat too. We need to let
hmm
up on a third party because it's the one that's in the marriage that cheated that broke the covenant. They're the one who's dishonorable. They're the one who we should be channeling the energy to, but we sit there and want to fight the mistress or the side chick or the side dude or the other person, and then been accepted our spouse back with all this love. And I just think like,
but that's because that usually happens when they're not, even if they know, right? Because at the end of the day, I feel like I saw the flags, but I ignored them because I didn't want to see them. And I feel like as a married woman, you see the flags, but you ignore them. And then when you're confronted with it, you make a decision to stay. So you gotta give that energy to somebody. So why not give it to the side chick?
mm-hmm,
Because you're not going anywhere.
right. uh Child, I can't even relate to, not saying in a bad way, but like being the person that stay in what type of frustration you're going through emotionally, mentally, and wanting your marriage to work, and
Yeah.
trying to forgive your spouse. It makes sense that that outside person is where you going focus on, like that's where your hatred gonna go when it's not fair and it's not okay that this person you over here hating and then the person that did it to you over here with open arms. I think
Like, I
let's work
forgive
on
you. It's
forgiving.
okay.
Yeah, let's forgive both parties because child, sometimes, especially in cases where the women just don't know, like there are cases where it's just like you willingly tried to steal this person's significant other, and those are okay, go ahead, do your thing. But it's like situations where we really don't know. So I guess my first question would be, what are the red flags you ignored in the beginning? Like,
Um, the not being able to talk on the phone
mm,
after a certain time. And it was always, oh, well, I got to get up early in the morning type stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, hindsight, I'm like, we all have to get up early in the morning. You know what I mean? They go to work. But it never registered. Like, it never dawned on me that, like, literally after like 9-ish, it was always like shut down time, like phone straight to voicemail, like phone off. Not even like it's ringing. It was just like phone was off. Or when we would go out, right? We going to really nice places, but it was like none of them were in the city, right? But I was looking at it like, oh, he's showing me like I've never been here or I've never been there, and it's like, but no, you were keeping me out of the city. You were keeping me from where people who know that you're married or people who know your wife will be seen, so it was that. And then the other thing was
child.
when he would have a phone call certain times, like he ran his own business, right? So
Mm,
I would expect sometimes you get a phone call, you step away, you talk business, right? But even just thinking like, but was sometimes those phone calls coming from the wife and you stepping off and walking away, like once I found out, it was like I was like, oh, I never, or like, oh, I gotta go. You know what I mean? It was just always little things like that I just never paid attention to. But once I found out, it was like the pieces of the puzzle that were missing.
2 plus 2 and 3 plus 1 and 4
Both
plus
equal
0.
four.
For
Listen,
they always gonna equal 4, man.
listen, and he was paying bills. He was like,
Wow.
he was a good dude. I
Oh,
mean,
girl, where he
I'm
work?
just
Where he
saying,
work?
you
He
know
was
what
paying
I'm
2
saying?
bills. Where he work?
But that's what I'm saying. And then it made it worse because after everything, even though I could take care of me and mine, because I had been taking care of me and mine, it was a nice help because my son's father wasn't in the picture at all, right? So whatever he was like, he putting his feet on my coffee table, you paying a bill. That's just how I feel. Like,
Mhm.
like,
Baby putting
so
both up.
listen, you want to pay all the bills? He had a toothbrush and all of that. Like, it just like, my son wasn't there. He was spending the night. So why would I think, like,
Girl,
he actually spent the night in my house before. So
girl.
why would I think there was somebody else?
That be the thing. Okay, so real tea. How you find out?
Girl, I'm petty. So we were supposed to go on a trip. And literally 2 days before, he cancels, like, oh, I can't go, business, duh, 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 duh. And I'm just like, oh, okay. But he came over before, we did the do. But the scent didn't smell
Mm,
scenty. It didn't smell like Shauna. 'Cause, you know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to be vulgar, but it didn't smell like Shauna. And I was
mm,
like, what's it? That smell? That don't smell like my chocha. That's
mm,
an interesting little scent. So I decided that after all was said and done and he left, I was like, I'm leaving too, but I left and followed. And I followed him to his bar where his wife came outside and greeted him with hugs and kisses.
oh, you're a bold one.
I'm like, oh.
Wow.
And my first thought was to just go ahead and just walk up. Like, I was like sitting at the corner, like I feel like real creepy, but I don't care. But later on that night, I called him. He answered the phone. It was like about 8:15, because I knew I had to call him before 9 because he wasn't going to answer the phone. And I told him that I was pregnant. I ain't gonna lie. I lied because I wanted to see what his reaction was gonna be,
Got
because I
you.
told you I'm petty. So I told him, I said, I just found out I was pregnant. He was like, what? I said, yeah. He was like, I thought you was a birth control. I said, I guess it didn't work. And I'm crying, I'm giving it all and scene, right?
I'm
And
so
so
done.
he like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm on my way. And I was like, but you said said we can't take our trip. He was like, no, but this is important. I'm on my way. Then he get there and I
Ooh.
don't answer the door. He see my car, he ringing, knocking on the door, banging on the door. Shauna, let me in. I'm just like not answering the door. I don't know why I'm laughing.
Because it's hilarious.
I'm so petty.
Why you
But
kept
Disclaimer,
answering the door?
disclaimer.
What was the part of what was the part of the scene? Like, did you have a reason why you didn't answer the door? Or you wanted to be
I didn't want
dramatically
to.
open it? Oh, okay, gotcha.
I didn't
We
want to
just sent them
answer
on
the
a wild
door.
goose. Disclaimer,
Right.
ladies,
This,
we don't condone
right.
sending people on wild goose chase, but
I
hey,
don't.
you live and you learn.
Right? You know what I'm saying? I was in my 20s, this is, I was about that petty life. So, I didn't answer the door. So then when he left, I called back and I was like, I was asleep, come back. You know what I'm saying? Like
Not,
cause I had all these calls and texts. So he came back and he was banging and I did the same thing about 2 more times. Um, and then the third time he came, I finally let him in the house and I let him have it. I cussed him clear
oh,
out.
Ooh.
Right at the door. I cussed him clear out. He was like, what? And I was like, yep, I seen her. I said, she's beautiful too. And I was like, oh, so you like a fit. I was just describing her or whatever. I said, so I was just a little play. He was like, no, it ain't like that. You know how dudes be,
mm-hmm.
But after that, I ain't talked to him for 2 weeks. And then, yeah, I was sad. I was crying. I was like, dude, this ain't even my man for real.
Mm.
But I was still crying about it because I'm like, but I put a lot of energy into that.
Yes, because he was living two identities. Like, how do you heal from a person who has two identities? To play that role is a lot.
What was your healing? What you do to heal? Like,
Man, listen. I moved on to the next character. That's what I I'm just gonna be honest. I was like, well, next, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
at that point in my life, I moved different. I grew up with a lot of men, a lot of
Okay.
males, right?
Yeah.
So I always believed in having a starter five and then you got a person on the bench.
Oh my gosh, I had a start
So
fight too.
so you get what I'm saying.
Yes,
So
I
he
do.
was, he was MJ. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
then it was like, okay, so now once all of that was said and done, my healing process was rotation.
Okay. Okay.
mm,
I traded them.
Hmm.
okay.
And I had a new starter five and then had my rotation. So I
Did you
just
have
moved on
any
to,
residue? Like, okay, because I know in the midst of we drafted and we traded, how did
of
you get rid of that residue?
course.
Because I know sometimes there's residue. So how did you
Listen.
weave and bob?
That residue was showing up until maybe about 5 years ago. And this was a long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I think the reality is when we don't seriously deal with it and process it, that residue carries on. Right? That's like when you get a brand new skillet. Oh, that skillet, it be so
Oh yes.
pretty. That Teflon, you know what I'm saying? That non-stick skillet. But the more you use the skillet, the more you stop using the good silverware, you start using your regular fork and spoon and you scratching
Mm.
right at the
Mm-mm-mm.
non-stick, it becomes sticky. Everything you put in there now sticks to the skillet. So I just
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's what was happening to me. I just didn't want to see it. I was still allowing myself to be utilized by my starter five, even in my rotation, not realizing, okay, but I needed to have an off season.
Mm.
I didn't allow for off season.
Baby, let that wound heal.
I didn't allow for it because I was like, that ain't how dudes move. And in my mind, I felt like that's how I'm supposed to move.
Mm-hmm. Child.
On to the next one. On to the next one.
And that literally, most of us that grew up around men or with brothers, like we get to moving like that because we see them do it. And first off, we see them play games. And we see that once they do something, they continuously do it, and they hop, skip, and jump. And because we don't want to look weak, or we don't want to be talked about like they talk about the female. Well, I'm gonna just speak for myself. I've been in those
Mm-hmm.
situations because I didn't want to be talked about like the women my brothers and cousins talked about, and I didn't want to be looked at as a weak female or make a man think he could take advantage of me. So that was why I would bob and weave or be in rotation, knowing the whole time I'm a lover girl, knowing the whole time that it was killing me to be like that or to turn into that. And yeah, it's like, what? Like, nigga, who you thought? Where?
It was more like, I'm
Exactly.
gonna show you, you're not the
Yeah.
first and you're not the last.
Right.
So
Yeah.
until then,
Listen.
catch me next time. Like,
Show you better than I can tell you.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, before we move to the next character, my question is, how would you advise a woman to address those red flags that she's seeing? Like there's no hardcore evidence, and you know people like to gaslight and make you feel like, girl, you delusional, this ain't that deep and this or that. Like it, going back, if you saw those red flags with the wisdom you have now, what would you do, or how would you advise a woman to navigate
Run. Um,
that?
no, but for real though, like,
Done.
listen, period. I realize now that whether you want to call it the Holy Spirit, woman intuition, however you view it, it's real.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Because now, when I get it, whether it's about a job, whether it's about something my son done lied to me about, whether it's about a friendship, whatever it is, it don't lie to me. So
Hmm.
when I feel it, I be like, okay, well, it's time to investigate.
Yeah.
I no longer ignore it. Whatever that feeling is, and I feel like every woman, man can say they felt it. There was something about a situation or somebody they was getting to know that didn't sit right with them. But they too focused on the person that's across from. Oh, well, they look good and they smell good and conversation is good. But there's some like, but you ignoring it because maybe you in a season of loneliness, or
Hmm.
maybe you in a season of I just got out of a situation, or
Hmm.
maybe everybody around you in a situation. So then you kind of feel this pressure of I need to be locked down and loaded, especially when it's winter season.
Ooh.
You know, so don't ignore those flags. Don't, even if you like, you know what, it could be me because of my past. You could journal those red flags and then start paying attention. Like, okay, well, okay, he did that again though. Like, and then
That's
address
good. That's
them
good. That's good.
Like, you know what, this was something I noticed before, and I want to know, is that kind of like something that you do, or maybe I perceived it incorrectly? Because it could be a lot of different things and not be somebody on one. But if we don't process what we see and address it, we'll never know. Because my
Hmm.
thing is, I'm going to address it with you.
Yeah.
I'm not biting my tongue anymore. I'm not ignoring the flags. My
Okay.
body said, you said something that wasn't true, or you did something that wasn't right, or something that didn't sit well with me. Oh, we going to talk about it. And if I don't
Hmm.
like your answer, you going to move around.
Hmm. And I'm gonna say it's Holy Spirit, baby, because that's just how we gonna roll. Cause
Period.
I will say this. There are times where we're dealing with mass manipulators, and I do love that you gave
Mm-hmm.
some feedback. Like it could be used, so journal it and ask questions. Cause there is sometimes we perceive stuff that ain't what it is, and that's how you know you just need to heal or whatever. But for those that it's not that, and you seeing a consistency, and this person
Mm-hmm.
gets sneakier, because one thing about the enemy is he gonna try to one up you. There's not many people that's liars and manipulators that's gonna be like, yeah, I'm manipulating you, or I'm lying to you. Some stuff you got to depend on God. I will say it's situations to where no matter what a person's saying to me, my spirit is like, no, I know that that's a lie, and I will
That
always
part.
ask God, Lord, expose it to me, make me uneasy. Like it's this
Mm.
girl on Instagram named Fortune. She did this prayer. She said, Lord, and I'm telling y'all pray this prayer. And she said it like, this prayer is scary, but it's gonna save your life. She said, Lord, reveal this man's heart to me in
Mm.
a way that if I was deaf, blind, or dumb, I could not ignore it. And
Ooh.
she said, I was sliding down the wall the next day. Like, why you being weird to me? And when I say God gonna expose that thing, he is going to expose it. He loves you. He cares about you. And no matter what, manipulation at its best is you knowing something and somebody telling you that ain't what it is.
Mm.
And if you always bow to what they're telling you versus what God is showing you, you will always be caught up in situations. And if you that hurt to where you still can't discern, find somebody you trust. That's where mentor, support system, girl, find somebody you
Mm-hmm.
trust to partner with you in prayer and to help you. I recommend just going straight to God, but I understand everybody ain't that level of
Mm-hmm.
maturity or hearing or healing, and get somebody who you trust to pray with you and guide you through it. And still
Yes.
first choice is stand on your own 2 feet though. But yeah.
Yeah, I say hear
Listen.
God from yourself and trust your discernment. Never bow to your emotions, but trust in your discernment. Because I dated a guy, and one day he came home, and like you said, it was just a different scent. The feeling I had, like it was just like, oh, you did something. Mm-mm.
Mm.
And I couldn't even put my finger on it. And he wanted to try it that night, and I was like, nope, I'm good. Nope, I'm good. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna wait. And so I prayed on it. And the next day he came home and told me everything he had done in our relationship, and my mouth dropped.
Mm,
So
mm,
my thing is, I said, God, have him reveal it to me. And I seen a woman in my dream, and it was the same girl, and it was even more girls um, throughout our relationship that I didn't even know he had talked to, that
Mm.
played in my face, like,
Ooh.
hey girl, all this, that, and the other. And I'm like, what? So
them
trust
dreams
your
be it.
discernment.
Them dreams
Like
be it.
God will show you.
Mhm. Mm. Them,
Yes,
them
ma'am.
dreams will tell a lot, baby.
Listen,
If you's
the
a dreamer.
dreams, the dreams, if you a dreamer, the dreams feel like it's real. Not, oh, I had a dream. No, you
Hmm.
wake up like, did that just happen yesterday or this morning? Because that was that real to me. And it's like God is speaking to you in your dreams because we don't want to receive it in other ways.
Hmm.
Hmm. And it's a running joke on social media that be like, your girl have a dream and be mad at you the whole day. Have a dream about you cheating, baby, because that was your discernment. That was Holy
Cause you
Spirit.
was, and is, cause you is.
He's trying to
Right.
reveal
And,
something. And I would say the first response to a dream is prayer, because depending on
mm-hmm,
how deep it is, he can expose to you something now, or he can expose something to you in the future. So
Mm.
definitely go into prayer to get your next steps, because it could be your prayers that stop that thing from happening, or it could be God revealing something to you that's happening now. So we don't know which one, but be in prayer. Okay, next character.
whew, that one in itself was deep and
But
done.
yes,
Like,
listen,
ooh,
child.
um, shoot. Uh, let me think. All right, let's go to Miss Gloria. Gloria was the one who, um, her ex-husband or her son's father was gay and her son was a teenager. Now, I never been in a relationship with somebody who ended up being gay,
Okay,
but
because I was about to say, what you
yeah,
about to tell me?
right.
Listen, I
No,
was on
you
the
was
edge
like,
of my
listen,
seat. I'm
because
like,
you was like, wait, I know a lot of people you talk to, so who is it? Who is it, honey?
whoa,
Nah, I
Jesus,
haven't
thank
seen
God.
any of them on the
Thank God ain't nobody for to be emailing me on this podcast.
listen. No, not that part of it. But for her brokenness
Mhm.
from
Mm.
that, you know what I mean? Where she had um Gregory Hines was the neighbor who moved in, and she couldn't receive his authenticity. She couldn't believe that he was a good man. She couldn't believe that he saw her, right? Because she was so broken from what she dealt with that she felt she wasn't worthy of love, or she wasn't small enough, skinny enough, or pretty enough to be seen, right? And so from that aspect of it, being a single mom and you're dealing with your own brokenness, that you're not able to see when someone, not even just a man, but when someone in general is pouring into you and sees you in a light that you can't see yourself in. So that's, I've dealt with that. I actually, a guy who was in love with me since like middle school, I thought he was too good for me even back then, because he
Mm.
was a really good person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even as adults, like we would go on dates and I just would keep calling my bestie, like, I know he a good person, but I just like, I'm not a good person. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of that type of love that he was giving me, even at that young age. From 15 on up, that man was in love with me. And I just like, this is weird. Like, is this what love's supposed to feel like? Cause I
Yes.
don't, like, I didn't know how to receive it. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a lot of love in my household growing up. So I was just like, this is too much. This is overwhelming. I don't deserve it. Listen, when I found out he got engaged, girl, I cried. Like, listen,
I
tears.
understand. I
I
understand.
cried. Like, oh my gosh, like I was happy for him. And I was also sad for me, not because we didn't end up together, but just from the fact of that this man saw me in a way that I wasn't able to see myself. And he kept saying, like, you are amazing, you are smart, you are this, you are that. And I used to be like, boy, please. I felt like all I deserved was the guys who would lie to me and tell me they not married, or the ones who played the games and was cheating on me in the background, or, whatever the case may be. But you had a wholesome young man here who wanted to be a part of your life, but I didn't think that I was deserving of that. And so that was a really unfortunate season of my life. And I'm glad that I not only think that I'm enough to be loved, but I am enough that I love myself. That whether someone else loves me or not is irrelevant.
I will say, I can't all the way relate to that. I've got nothing but niggas barking at me. No, I'm just playing.
Okay, I could relate. I could relate to that
I'm
one.
dead with
It was
Laria.
like the heart just dropped. It was just like she said, I was so young too, so I didn't even know what love was, and I was so used
Mm-hmm.
to like playing games, and so when I got the genuine dude, I'm like, you don't really need to be with me. Like I'm still on a person playing games. Like how do I take all of your love? I've never felt this before. This is also weird. And so when it ended, I was like kind of like heartbroken in a sense because it was like now I'm ready to be loved. Now I'm ready for all of this, but I wasn't, and you moved on. And how do I deal with that? Like heal from that.
Yeah, that's hard. And I think for y'all to be talking about women don't admit they take L's. Here go too talking about how they fumbled. How they fumbled, okay? We
Listen,
got heart. We know how to apologize. So, and if
took
you
a
know that's
whole
you
L.
and you single, come holler at my girl. No, I'm just like, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'm
I'm
dead.
joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. But no, but that is good. Like to hear that it's not like, especially in a society that always black women is black women, that to hear like women that openly say like, hey, I just fumbled that, I was wrong in that relationship and I can do better. um like I love that and I respect y'all so much for that. Even, and I would say who came to my mind was one person that I used to talk to that I feel like I missed out on, but the reason I let him go was because of my relationship with God, and he was an atheist. So yes,
Mm,
outside of that, we were good and things were good, and he's married now, and he ain't done nothing weird in his marriage like other men be doing. So that's the situation where I could relate to the hurt and pain of like, oh, you married, oh my gosh, and you
listen.
like being a good husband. But
Listen.
that the decision was like a surrender to God. Like, you think you finna be able to be with an atheist? Girl, that ain't gonna work. And for this, y'all like, it ain't that deep, it ain't that deep. God is my God. Worshiping God is a lifestyle for me, not a Sunday thing.
Yep, that part.
And it would just be hard if I'm over here casting out devils and coming home to one. All right.
Mm.
So praise the Lord.
Now
Okay.
I understand that because listen, whoo, it was this one man who was a Muslim, and I'm telling you, if he just gave his heart to God, I would be gone. But I just knew he wasn't gone because he was African. So I was just like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
oh, so hurt. We can just be friends, but I just had to put that out there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand the pain.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next character. When was you in love with a crackhead?
Miss Robin, Miss Robin. Uh Wait a minute. Let me get my laugh out.
Ooh, child.
Okay. So he wasn't a crackhead, but he was a weed head. And to me, may as well have like he was like
Might as
always like,
well. No, I'm just
you know what I'm saying? Like every
Basically,
time I turn around,
they
like he
can't
was
live without
fiending,
it.
like waking up to it, afternoon, lunchtime, dinner time, nighttime, party time. I was like, boy, like why? And it was like, not only was he a weed head, but he sold. drugs.
Mm.
So from the aspect of like, we here at an event together and then it's like, oh, I gotta bust a move, or hey, can you get a ride home because I gotta go take care of some business. I'm like, dude, like what in the world? Listen,
The
well, that
business
was a
is my
one and
weed
done.
man on my weed man on the other side of town. I gotta catch him.
Listen, I was sitting there like, is it for you or are you selling it? Because it was like the way he was moving. I'll be at his house and he'd be like, I'll be right back. I'm like, where you going? I bust a move. I'll be right back. And I'd be like, dude, like, on one end, I appreciated that he never bust moves with me in the vehicle. Cause like that would like be hazardous for me. But it was the fact that like every time I turn around, it was always something we would have plans. Oh, well, I can't go because I gotta go bust this move. And I'm sitting here like, are you making that much money? But then when I knew the lifestyle he was living, he really was making that much money. But it was just annoying because it's like, I just want a normal life. You know what I'm saying? Like, can you just go to work from 9 to 5 and then we have like dinner at 7? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what it was. Or like we had to be in the clubs or we had to be at the parties because he was like making connects. Like he networking for different purposes. Like, I'm just like, dude, this is not okay.
I'm done. Not you was Lakeisha dating Tommy.
Listen, and you know him, and you know who he
I
is.
got a feeling. I was gonna text you. I like, is it?
He's married now,
Oh,
so if
that
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 gives you
don't.
any kind of that don't help.
Nope, nope, it don't. But
He cool. He friends with your people.
Will. All right.
We for the people outside, but not for the people outside
All
like
right. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yep.
All right. So
On that
I
note,
was.
on that note,
I
that's the end of
didn't
that
know
story.
that. I'm like, I was blind the whole time. But anyways,
Yeah.
okay. Grand opening, grand closing.
And done and done.
and see.
Last one, everyone's favorite character.
Yes, Miss Bernadine, aka Angela Bassett. Listen,
Angela,
let me tell
period.
you all.
She was
Okay,
ripping them hangers. She was, how dare you?
listen. So I'm married, so this was not with my husband. This situation was not with my actual husband, but I was in a relationship with somebody who we were supposed to be, because for me, if we say we kicking it, and that means we talking to whoever. But if we say we are in a committed relationship, that's what that means. We've decided and agreed we're in a committed relationship, so we're not talking to other people. So of course I found out he was talking to somebody else. Like I found out where she lived, so not for her, but for him, because he was supposed to be in Chicago. That's where he said he was. But because I'm Inspector Shauna, I knew he wasn't. And so I went to her house at like 1 o'clock in the morning and I Angela Bassett his car. You said
We're not
transparency.
gonna
Yes.
incriminate ourselves.
No, I had already went to court for this and everything. It's all good.
Okay.
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 And this was like over 10 years ago. So it's
Okay.
beyond the statute of limitations.
Okay.
Okay, period. Know your rights.
I know my rights, otherwise I wouldn't have shared it. You
Okay.
want transparency, and by the
Okay,
way,
no, go
all of
ahead.
this was before I was with the Lord.
Okay, me
So,
see
because
ya.
when you know better, you do better, right?
Right.
Yes.
But I didn't know better at the time. I knew revenge. That's all I knew.
Mm.
So now I know that I let the Lord make my enemies a footstool. So
Period.
So
the
what type
next
of
morning,
trials did that? Hold on, let's dwell there for somebody that's like, yep, and loading up their car right now, listening to this podcast.
let
What
me
trials
explain.
did that send you through? Don't go yet, girl.
Listen,
Hold on. Put
right,
the
stay.
sugar down. Put the
It's
car
like, yep,
keys
I heard her.
down.
She said it, so I'm gonna do it.
Right.
Period. Nope. She said
Listen.
do
Ooh,
this
let
and
me
get
go
this
get the
to her.
restraining order.
Yes.
Listen. So let me tell you how this backfired. I want to be honest, it really didn't. But I will say that I always had a feeling that it was gonna come back to me. I always believed he was gonna figure out it was me, and he was a Southside Chicago dude, right? So for like a long time, I was like paranoid. that he was going to find out it was me and it was going to be a problem. So for me, that's worse than anything else. When you living out here in East, like I stopped going to the club. I like outside of going to work, I didn't go anywhere. I actually switched vehicles with somebody for a couple of months so they would never know when I was and wasn't at home. You know what I mean? Because it was that what I did was like $8,000 worth of damage, right? Which isn't a lot of money, but I think it's more principle,
That's a
right?
lot of
And
money. I don't care nobody
so I'm like waiting on the shoe to drop. Like I'm waiting on him to catch me or have one of his homegirls catch me. So that was my thought process. Like, man, after the fact, I'm like, I ain't have to do all of that. Like I could have just stopped talking to him instead of feeling like I needed to prove a point. Like it did not make me feel better,
And did
right?
y'all stop talking?
We did.
Hmm.
We stopped talking. I told him later that I found out that he was talking to somebody else, but he didn't know that I did that to his car because he called me the next morning about it, and I was like, "Oh my God, call the police! Who did that?" I pretended like it wasn't me, so he didn't find out until like months later, because he had left some stuff at my house and he was trying to get it. That in the midst of me cussing him out, I said it. That's the only reason why he ended up knowing. So it was like those 3 months that was passing, I literally like was always checking my six because I'm like, if it were me, I would, because that's not,
I'm
oh,
gonna get my
somebody
get
tried to,
back.
right, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't like, oh, somebody tried to take my car. This was like, no, somebody was at me. Somebody wanted me to see what they did to my vehicle. So I would be looking for the person who did it and knowing that, again, he's from Cabrini Green. Like that's where he grew up. So I knew where his thought process was. And so I was just like, yeah, that wasn't smart. Like in that moment, I was angry, and that's where I placed my anger. Instead of placing my anger on the phone with him, telling him that I know he's no good and leaving him alone, I wanted to make a point.
So what
And
happened
it
with
didn't help.
court? What happened with court?
Girl. So the reason why we actually ended up going to court was because of the restraining order.
Okay.
So he did not follow the restraining order. So so I called the police on him, totally forgetting that he knew what I had did to his vehicle because I told him when I cussed him out. So when we get to court for him violating the restraining order, he actually brought up in court that I damaged his vehicle. So he ultimately tried to take me to court for the damages for his vehicle. I just so happened to have people lie on my behalf that it wasn't me because I was like out of town, even though I wasn't. So people incriminated themselves for me, which they shouldn't have. And I can say all of us are saved now, but back then, that's not where our thought process was. It was kind of always just somebody get you, you get them back, and you have to get them back 10 times worse. But ultimately, that did not make me feel better inside. That didn't stop me from crying. That didn't stop me from feeling like crap because at the end of the day, he was cheating on me with another woman.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I will say, like, from what you said, like, you did that because you thought it would change the way you felt, but it
Yes.
only just brought more issues with the court case to where you couldn't even stand on what you had on, and you put your friends in the midst of this, and then still had to watch your back because of what you felt like this person might do. And
Yes.
that ain't, listen,
Well, none of that was
looking
worth
back,
it.
was it worth it?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I feel like the best revenge is to be unbothered,
Mm-hmm.
right? The best revenge is to tell somebody, okay, you cheating on me, goodbye. And walk away with your head up. I couldn't walk away from that situation with my head up because I knew I had did some foul stuff. Regardless of how angry I was, it didn't make me feel any better. It didn't make me walk away like, oh, I'm still Shana or I'm still good. I walked away like that was stupid. Literally, by the time I got home from doing what I did, I instantly regretted it. But I couldn't take back what I did.
Mm-hmm. And
You know
what
what I'm
made you
saying?
regret it? Like, did you want him back or you just didn't like that behavior
Girl, no,
from
I didn't
yourself?
want that food back.
Okay.
It was literally, I can't believe I allowed what he did to make me go to that level, right? That I gave him power over me. That's how I looked at it. Instead of me just walking away, right? I gave a reaction to him cheating on me that makes it look like, oh yeah, she stuck on me, right? Because to me, a woman who reacts like that, or who wants to get that type of revenge, is because you butt her and you don't know how to regulate your emotions. That's really what it is, right? I took my anger out on his vehicle because I didn't want to take my anger out on him, because I still had feelings for him. But then after I did all of that, I was like, I can't believe I was that angry that I allowed myself to do this foolishness. I literally felt stupid. I was like, this is stupid. In the car. So my cry home wasn't crying because he was cheating on me. It was crying because I belittled myself. He didn't have to do it. I did it. And to me, that is way worse than the damage I did to his car. The damage I did to myself that day was beyond anything else. I can't take that moment back.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, when you love yourself, you don't like doing and feeling any type of way.
That's what I'm saying. When you love yourself, you don't settle for the shenanigans to begin with. And what I gave was shenanigans to his shenanigans. I matched his energy instead of keeping mine where it was, right? So anytime we decide to go to somebody else's level and we want to kind of be pettier, or we want to seek revenge, that doesn't hold you to a standard. You've lowered your standards to meet somebody that you shouldn't have been messing with in the first place. You lowered who you are supposed to be where he at or where she at. And then you gonna go home feeling just as crappy, if not worse, than you did before you went and did the stupid stuff. And now you gotta worry about catching the case. Because truth be told, I could have caught a whole case for that. That would have been for misdemeanor charges. For what? For a dude who couldn't keep his pee-pee to himself?
Not his pee-pee.
His pee-pee. At the end of the day, that's what it was. He wasn't my husband. At least Angela Bassett, it was her husband. Not condoning what she did, even though it looked amazing in the movie. It was her husband. Right? And so I'm sitting here listening, and I tell young girls that I mentor that story all the time. Like, yeah, it seemed like what you doing gonna make you feel good. And you tell girls like, oh, I tow up his car, and I be seeing the videos all day, every day. That don't bring him back. That ain't gonna make him do you no better. That's not gonna make you feel any better. So what is the point? Walk away with your head up. Keep it moving. Get yourself together. That's what you need to be focusing on.
Boss up.
Boss up. Exactly. When you boss up, then they let them look stupid, not you. You don't look stupid when you get cheated on. And I think that's the problem. We feel like we look stupid because the person that we trusted to be faithful to us isn't faithful to us. No, we don't look stupid. They look stupid because you messed up a good thing. And now the world can have you. Sorry, I just went into a little tangent.
No, but the girls outside need that, because a lot of women don't know their worth, and we stay in it and we deal with it and we blame ourselves for niggas nonsense. Let's just keep it a buck. So it's like, once you know your worth, it don't take all of that. I know that we want to do all of that, but it don't take all of that, because now, like you said, you put yourself in situations that you never were supposed to be in, and you reap what you sow. So again, let God handle that, because he's going to do a better job than what you were going to do physically.
Amen. And I think a question. What would you say, or like what advice, or what was your process, however, for girls that don't know how to regulate their emotions and they respond in that anger? Like, what are some things you did to get to the other side?
Again, this was before I had a relationship with God. And when I look back, I be like, I could have saved myself a whole lot A whole lot. Had I had a relationship with God earlier on, because he would have been my source. Period. But at that time, I started going to the gym. I actually started mentoring girls right around that time. And for me, looking at them and what they're dealing with and how they are fighting each other over boys and all of these other things, it made me reevaluate myself as a woman, right? Because I'm sitting here like, they doing it at 14, 15, 16. They gonna be just like me if they don't flip the script. And I wanted to start leading by example, like to what you said earlier. I was your first mentor, even when it was on the ratchet stuff. Like when I look back, I be like, dang, I showed you some stuff I shouldn't have, but I wasn't in the right place either. You know what I'm saying? So when I started mentoring those girls, I'm like, I gotta do better because these girls are looking at us. These girls are paying attention to what we doing as women. And if I'm out here moving left and they moving left, who am I as an adult to be pointing fingers and telling them they messing up, or to be talking about their mamas who ain't raising them right when it takes a village? So whether it's the mama, the auntie, the neighbor, the person they see at the grocery store, every time a young lady sees us acting ratchet, see us out of character, out of who we are designed to be, they looking at that like, oh, that's how I'm supposed to move when I get 22, 23, 25, 30, Real Housewives of Atlanta, Love and Hip Hop. They looking at all of that like, oh, this is how we supposed to move. This is normal. And it ain't. Ain't nothing normal about it. Ain't nothing cute about it. Being ratchet ain't cute. I don't care where you from, because I'm from the same block as everybody else. But you don't have to be ratchet. You ain't got to be like, you just ain't got to be all of that. Be who you are. Don't be fake. But you ain't got to allow your emotions to be seen by the world. It's called therapy. It's called, if you have a good relationship with your mother or a mentor, as somebody had mentioned earlier, there are women, or if you a male, there are men out here who will speak life into you and furthermore will hold you accountable. And that's who you need in your life, is people who gonna hold you accountable and who gonna speak life to you and tell you that, remind you of how amazing that you are. And it, hopefully they're believers. And if you ain't at that level yet, that's okay. But they better still be able to hold you accountable and keep it honest with you in a loving way.
Amen. I think that part is the last part, accountability, because sometimes we confide in people or call people our mentors that condone our foolishness, and it's important that the person that you are looking to has a little bit more sense than you,
Yeah.
and not in a bad way, in a good way.
I mean, but that's the point of a mentor.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have to be older, but they should be wiser. They should be more knowledgeable, at least in the areas in which you want to talk to them about. I'm not going to go have a mentor as far as marriage is concerned who ain't never been married before. That just don't make sense to me.
Yeah.
What? If I have kids, like when I had a kid, I was one of the only ones at that time. None of my friends had kids, right? I'm not going to my friends to ask them questions about me raising my son. That doesn't make sense.
Touche. And I think like there's a level of advice you can give with having wisdom and spiritual discernment, but I do agree, like, mentor me and being my person, you do need to have some sort of skin in the game when
Listen,
it comes to those things. But yeah.
if you
So
decide to go to college and you want to go to college to be a nurse, but the person who's teaching you the nursing courses specifically ain't a nurse, ain't never worked as a nurse, ain't never been in a hospital working, what are they teaching you exactly?
the textbook.
But I'm
Woo!
saying, like, at a college
Yeah.
level, they have to have the experience.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not calling you professor if you ain't got the experience. So I'm just saying, that's just my 2 cents. Now,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I can talk to my best friend about some stuff and she can give me a non-biased opinion,
Hmm.
but I also take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. But yeah, we unpacked a whole lot today, girl.
I feel like I
Not,
was long-witted. I'm
I feel
sorry,
like
y'all.
you
No,
was.
you
I'm
was
like, no, she
you
was really all for it.
you gave us all the nuggets. You gave us the
Listen,
nuggets. You said the flags. You gave us the nuggets. I'm pretty sure the paper is full right now, and the voice memos are full.
I said sis was really all for it. I'm sitting here like, dang. You know how they be having them one person movies? How Martin was 5 different characters in his TV show.
listen.
Like, dang,
Facts.
this has been some heat. Okay, so eyes are married now though, but sis is married. And as you can see, she's been through the fire, done kissed some frogs, and it's been a journey. It's thugged out here. So I would say, was that transition hard? Like,
Girl, bye. Listen, our first year of marriage was a struggle,
Hmm.
more so because of me, right? It was more, I was accustomed to moving a certain way with men, right? I talked to men a certain way. I didn't respect myself back then. I didn't love myself, but I also didn't even really respect the men that I dated, which is why the good one back in the day, I let him go because I respected him too much, if that makes sense. Um, but when we got married, he from the same hoods we from. So he would be like, wait, who is you talking to like that? I ain't one of these little homeboys off the block. I'm a grown man. I'd be like, you are a grown man. You right. I guess I need to talk to you with some respect. Like he commanded respect. He would get on me if it sounded like I was putting myself down. He would constantly remind me that I was amazing, that I'm enough, and he still do, even if I don't need to hear it. He recognizes things about my past that still tries to trickle in sometimes, right? Because I feel like I have not healed from certain things, but I am still healing, right? So, still being in the healing journey, I had to have a partner who understood that and was graced for that. So my husband is graced for me. So when I have my emotional irregular, because there have been times that old Shana still want to kick in, and I got to check myself on how I react to certain things. And then he be like, hey now, hey, this ain't that. I need you to calm down, babe.
pipe
I love you,
down.
but calm it down. I be like,
Yeah.
you right, give me a hug. So he recognizes those things. And I feel like if you are with the person that is graced for you, there is room for your growth in that. And just in the 5 years we've been married, I've grown a lot in that short amount of time in ways that I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was an area I still needed to work on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And listen, some stuff don't come out until you in the marriage. You don't really know. Um,
Listen, when you live with somebody every day, all day,
it's a different
baby.
ball game. Some stuff you just don't know until, like you don't know if you healed until the wound is poked at again. You don't know if you
Yep.
can handle the fire until you getting burned again. You don't know until it's happening. And I think that is amazing, that is beautiful that he sees, those things and knows how to handle them and address it in a way to where it's not like, you know, re-traumatizing you time and time again, but he's moving
Mm-hmm.
towards solutions. I think that is amazing and that's beautiful. And yeah, maybe we'll get him on here and hear his story.
Girl, good
Because
luck with that.
me and they have been talking about, like, we need to get some men too. Like, they got some stuff to tell. They got some stuff they was healed
Listen,
from.
I can find you some, but he ain't one of them because he be like, he one of the dudes from the block. So he like, man, I ain't finna, you want me to be on something that other people gonna listen to? Nah, I'm straight. He like, nah, we can have a conversation, but you ain't recording it. I
He
be
just
like,
said
boy,
not
bye.
today.
Right. But yeah, it's definitely has been a growth period. I mean, for both of us though. I believe that I know people say like you shouldn't be getting married if you're not whole and all of these other things. But to your point, how do you know you don't still have broken pieces if you feel that you healed in certain areas? Then you get into marriage and you like, oh, yeah,
Mhm.
there is a big old gap right here in this spot. And there was a trigger that I didn't even know could be triggering,
Mhm.
and so it's like I am constantly evolving and constantly growing, and I still go to therapy because I'm trying to be proactive, right? Even if ain't nothing going on in my life right now, I'm being proactive because I know at the end of the day, emotions happen, life happens. Oh, and not to mention the prayer closet that I have is real. So
Hello.
everything has to go in that there prayer closet. I got post-it notes all over the prayer closet, and you better not let them fall. Um, that is kind of, what I'm saying, my starter. And I journal my dreams and I journal my emotions. Like, because in marriage, people make you mad. Like,
Mhm.
you don't think he make me mad every other day. And I'm sure I make him mad the other every days, you know?
No, that's real. That's true. God had gave me this word a few weeks or months ago about like just covenant in general. Like getting into covenant with somebody calls for you to have an intense prayer life, and yeah. So it just make me more patient with any and everything. Like, wait, what am I doing? Who want to do what with me? Okay, let's take some time to pray about this because am I grace to carry you? And are you grace to
Girl,
carry me? Because we'll be somewhere both jacked up.
listen. And
Because,
if you
yeah,
ain't
no.
married, let me put this out there. That is wonderful. Listen, let me tell you, don't be in no rush because it is better to not be married than to be married for somebody who ain't grace for you and somebody you ain't grace for.
Hmm.
That's a cross you don't want to carry because when it
Hmm.
comes once you are one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that like there is a lot that is being carried, like you said, stuff that you didn't even know was wounds. And if you're not graced for that person,
Hmm.
you're not going to have the capacity or the patience to deal with what comes up.
Mm. Amen. Okay, so what is your Nate? Do you got anything else to add before we close out? Cause baby, she done gave us all she had to give. Sis poured out.
Listen,
I
let me
just
fill
thank
up
you
my cup.
for sharing, like just being transparent and honest and open how you basically was every character because I totally can relate.
Yeah, girl.
So I guess we'll close with to the younger Shauna that's listening. If y'all heard one of the stories and you could relate to, or you just like, dang, she sounds so much like me, or I'm in the midst of that, whatever. What are your final words of advice for the listeners or your younger self or just anybody you feel like, whatever the Lord is leading you to say to anybody that may be in one of those situations? What is some just closing advice for
And
them?
I know that's probably going to be cliche for anybody who knows me, but really, you are enough. And I say that because no matter what mistakes you've made in the past, no matter how many times you've fallen, and you may feel like there is no hope, people around you may be telling you that you're a lost cause because of your past relationships and situations and all these other things. That's not the case. There is grace for your growth. There is grace for you in acknowledging and in seeing what you've done in your past and in knowing that whatever you've done, you don't have to continue to do it just because it's what you've already known. You can choose to take a different path, because you are enough. You don't have to keep going in the same direction. You can choose to go right instead of going left. Because at the end of the day, any day you wake up is a new day. So stop focusing on what was and look at is what is right in front of you. Don't look so far into the future that it gets overwhelming, but just look enough ahead of you where you see the hope, you see the goodness that is in front of you, no matter what the hurdles are, no matter what the obstacles are, no matter how many men or women try to come into your picture. Look at them like bugs that hit your windshield. Turn the wipers on and swipe them off and keep it moving, because you are enough. You don't need to settle for less. You don't need to think that you are less. And you do not need to allow anyone to tell you or make you feel like you are less, because you are uniquely, wonderfully, and fearfully made. There is no other one like you, even if you have a twin. And so, because you are enough, you can choose to walk in that, own that, not in a way of arrogance, but in a way of acknowledging that you can turn your life around. You can choose a different route and be okay with the future that is before you.
Well, amen. I am enough. Okay.
You are
And
fearfully and
y'all
wonderfully
are
made in
enough.
God's image.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let the people know how they can find you on social media, website, whatever. Plug it.
I can do a shameless plug. Well, come on through there.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, well, you can find me at ShanaSpeaksLife.com. Shana Speaks Life on Insta, on TikTok, on Facebook. Just Shana Speaks Life. Oh, and you can find me on YouTube. Oh, and I started a podcast also called, guess what? Shana
You are
Speaks
enough.
Life.
Oh.
I know,
Hey.
right? No, but that is like my real life tagline. But no, just Shauna Speaks Life, and you can find me anywhere that there's videos or audio. And come through, holler at your girl. But make sure first you like, comment, share your review, share your thoughts about not just this episode, but about every episode from this here podcast, because this is the one that I'm on and this is amazing. Okay? Okay.
Amen. Amen. Somebody wrote me like, this podcast needs a comment section. I said, girl. So maybe we
It
gonna get some
do.
live videos in the future. But right now, we ain't gonna put the people on camera. We're gonna get them comfortable with sharing. But y'all, all her information is in the show notes. So definitely the website and the link to her podcast are there. And I think everything else you can find from her website, or just type in at Shauna Speaks Life. And y'all stay connected, stay plugged in. If you need some motivation, that is your girl. And she do have other services she offer on her website. So make sure you connect with her.
Yes, this has been amazing. I am so thankful for this, and I definitely am praying that much success continue for this podcast, because we need it, all of it.
Thank you. It's
Man.
for the people outside. So for y'all that was outside, y'all was listening. I hope y'all got y'all notes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Um, Thank you for sharing your story to the world. Thank you for being transparent. We love you so much. I learned so much, and I was able to take some nuggets for
Mm-hmm.
myself, just learning to walk away basically from situations
Run
and
away,
not letting
run.
my emotions control me, because I've been there before. But there's some things going on in my life right now where I can look at it and like, you know what, I'm not going to be emotional because God's going to handle it. So
Period.
thank you for sharing your testimony and just your journey.
Absolutely. There will be a book one day. No, I just swear.
You ain't
No,
playing.
what you mean? One day you better
She
get
ain't
in that book.
playing.
I ain't playing, but
She ain't playing. It's gonna be a book. All
It's
right.
gonna be a book, girl. Declare and decree that it's gonna be a book. What you mean?
Jesus.
yes.